So, you've run out of hard drive space and you need to add a new hard drive. Well, we have one, but we don't have any more hard drive bays. So what are we going to do? Well, depending on the computer you have, you may have some options. This is a pretty small computer. It has a space for 2 hard drives. And it has 1 DVD drive. So I already have 2 hard drives, an SSD, and the DVD drive in here. So there's no more space to put a hard drive. There's no more SATA ports. Now there are options, that workarounds you can do to get one more drive in there. Not all of them are perfect, but we're going to talk about them in this particular scenario. Now, if you have more bays available, your options may be less limited. But if you've already filled all your hard drive bays, I think a good option is to replace the DVD drive with a hard drive. Now, what I use is this Vantech 5 1/4 to 3 1/2 conversion kit. So it's a hard drive tray. It allows you to mount either a standard 3 1/2-inch drive, or you could even mount an SSD in here. It already has the screw holes that line up perfectly with an SSD. Seems kind of ridiculous, but if you need a safe place to put an SSD, you could do that. You could also buy one of the SSD 3 1/2 to 2 1/2 conversions that have space for 2 SSDs. Mount that in here, and it'd be slightly less ridiculous. But anyways, this Vantech, I'm not being sponsored. I don't get them for free, anything. I got one because it's possibly the cheapest option on eBay, or not on eBay, on Amazon. And I tried it, and I like them. They're very strong. I mean, they're just good, and it's just a piece of plastic, and that's all I want. I don't want to pay a lot of money for the same thing, and so that's why I went with these Vantechs. So, because I do a lot of these kinds of conversions for different reasons, I've used several of them here on my own computers, and because I tend to max out hard drive space, so I always keep a couple extras on hand. So something to consider if you also use them a lot. They're not going to get any cheaper, that's for sure. So I always like having a couple spares around in case I need them. So what we're going to do today is we're going to open up this PC. I'm going to show you what it looks like inside. It's very tight. There's just not a lot of room to do anything. But I'm going to show you how I'm going to convert it into having space for that 4th drive. All right. Be right back. Okay, let's lay this PC down and get inside. So, this is a Lenovo. It's pretty well made for the most part. However, one of the things that I just don't understand is why they didn't give us one more bay here. There's plenty of space for it, so it doesn't make sense because it comes configured for 3 drives, but they have 4 SATA ports. So why didn't they give us one more? It's ridiculous. But the other problem we have here is you see up at the top here, there's one more 5¼ bay, but they have the IOs up here, and I don't know if you could even get one there. I have opened this case before, and I'll show you the other problem. Usually these are pop-outs, but on this particular system, it's not a pop-out. That you would literally have to butcher the case to get in there, and I really don't want to do that. It's just not necessary, especially in this case, though it would be nice if either this had a pop-out or they just included that. They didn't, so we're going to move on. So what we're going to do is we're going to take out the DVD drive, and we're going to put in our adapter. So these are obviously very easy to get out. So just like that, we got it out, and we're just not going to use that anymore. What we are going to use is the adapter. So let's see if it fits up in there nicely, and if we have to do anything, which sometimes you have to do little things, maybe rig it a little bit to get it to fit nicely. Yeah, that's just not fitting in there very flush. Let's see if we can get the holes to line up. Yeah, we can get the holes to line up, but as you can see here, when you get the holes to line up, it's not in there flush. So I'm not sure if that's gonna, the case cover is gonna fit on there when we do that. So let's have a look at that and see before we go any further. So we're going to put the front back on the case. Should always be really careful with these things. They're seldom made very well, which I kind of understand. And yeah, that's going to fit on there nicely, even though it's protruding a little bit out the front. So that's great. We can move on to the next step. So let's go ahead and put that hard drive in there. So today we have a Hitachi 6 terabyte that I picked up for a pretty good price. Had hours on it, but it has no problems. I use Crystal Disk Info to test these when I get them. I've picked up some of them that have 0 power on hours. They're refurbished, but they have no hours. And some of them, like this one, had hours, quite a few hours to be honest, but it has 0 bad sectors, has 0 problems, according to Crystal Disk Info. And I have had very little problems with any of these that I have tested before I used them. So test them. If you get a hard drive, especially a refurbished or used hard drive, the first thing you should do is check it with Crystal Disk Info. They have a portable version that I prefer. Make sure it doesn't have problems, because you usually, well, pretty much always, like with eBay or Amazon, they give you a 30-day window. Even if the seller doesn't offer returns, if it's defective, they have to accept a return. So I just returned 2 4 terabyte hard drives to eBay, and it was a situation where the seller did offer a 30-day return, And when I tested both of them, they had 0 power on hours, and they didn't show any problems. No Crystal Disk Info errors. But after just like 1 day of use, both of them started reporting massive reallocated sectors, which is a telltale sign of disk failure. So that's a caution too. Maybe you don't want to just check when you get them. Maybe you want to check again. Because like that, I almost got fooled. I was doing something and I was checking temperatures is what I was actually doing. And when I went in there to check the temperatures to see if the new fan arrangement in the PC was cooling the disks properly, I get these cautions and I'm like, what's going on here? I check to see which disks it is, and it was the 2 new disks. So something else to think about. So we're going to insert this like this into the case. So we want to make sure that our drive, though it's not 100% critical, I don't believe. It may be, but I just always prefer for the drive to be facing upwards, and it's probably important, and plus that's the way your connections are usually oriented, and so that's what I'm going to do. That's what I always try to do. Another thing, this hard drive conversion kits, they come with not only the screws to mount it to the conversion plastic thing here, they also include screws if you need to put in these holes, and we're going to use a couple of those. So very nice of them, got good instructions, everything. And yeah, if you need that, make sure you use them. So let's go ahead and drop a couple of screws in here. You can put up to 6. Probably overkill. I'd never put 6 in one, but they give you enough screws to put as many as you want. I prefer to put the 2 on each side. Never had any problem that I'm aware of by doing that. Seems to keep the hard drives very stable, and that's one of the reasons I like this particular adapter. Is I feel like some of them are a little weak, and that doesn't give me confidence that they're holding my drives securely. But this one is pretty thick, and I feel pretty confident that the drives are being held securely, so they're not going to have vibration and all of that. If this fit into there just like the DVD, then it would snap in there, and technically you may not need to put any screws in there in that case. But yeah, I still prefer to do that. I just feel better. I feel safer if I got a couple screws in there. Even 1, I'll feel better. 2, I'll feel much better. So, something to think about when you're doing it. Like I said, I'm not too worried about it. Even 1, I can feel almost 0 movement there. But if you pull on it, you can get a little bit of vertical movement, and this one's going to take a little doing to get the second screw in there because it doesn't line up 100% perfect, but it's plastic, man. We can get one in there, so we're going to. And once we did that, that thing is solid. There is no movement whatsoever. So now we can go back in here and we can connect our power and our SATA cable, and we're just going to look everything over. We're going to make sure we didn't get anything out of sorts while we were doing it, and we didn't. We got it all in there good. Alright, so we can put the front cover back on. Again, be careful with these covers. They're not the best made, so you really don't want to force them. You might be just forcing them to break. We don't want to do that. We did all this work trying to accomplish something and not break it. So that's it. We've got it all back together. We just need to put the rest of the case back together. I'll tell you a little bit about this Lenovo when we're closing. And it's a very well made PC. I like Lenovo's. I'm a bit of a Lenovo fanboy. The original Lenovo I first purchased it's been about 16 years, I think. 15 or 16 years. That one is still running. It's been upgraded. It's running Windows 10 now, and it's an old computer. It runs a little slow. There's not much use for it, but I keep it because it does work. It's been upgraded to a better processor, to Windows 10, graphics card, and it works really good. This one, being a newer system, is much more worth the upgrades that I've put into it. So it came with 8 gigabytes of RAM and a single stick, which I really liked that because it made it pretty easy and simple to upgrade with 3 more sticks and get to a total of 32 gigabytes. Not very many people will need more than that. It came with a NVIDIA GTX 960 2 gigabyte card. I've upgraded to this EVGA GTX 1060 6 gigabyte card, and it's the superclock version, and it's really all I need. I don't play games. This would be capable, considering it's got an i7 processor and this 1060 6 gigabyte. It could play games, but your AAA titles are probably going to fall a little short on frames at the highest resolutions, but it would be playable, even those at lower resolutions, but that's not what this is for. But I did upgrade the graphics card. I upgraded the SSD from a 120 gigabyte card to a 1 terabyte Samsung Evo 860. I upgraded the hard drives. There was a single 1 terabyte. Now we have a 2 terabyte, a 4 terabyte, and today we installed a 6 terabyte. So now we've got 12 terabytes in here, which is more than I'll ever really need because this computer connects directly to my home server, which has 12 drives in it. So don't really need even this amount, but it's nice to do backups directly on the computer. And the reason being is, let's say this computer crashes for some reason. I don't load my programs directly on the C drive. If you look over here, might be hard to see, but back in here we have SSD, M.2 SSD plugged into PCIe slot. So we have a 500 gigabyte drive there that is running all the programs, and the C drive basically just runs the operating system, and that's about it. I do load a few other things on there, but it's mostly just running the operating system. The user folder is, those files are not on the C drive either. All of those are on a separate drive. The reason being is, if this system goes down, the operating system can be reloaded. I can point the system to the user files on the other drive and get up and running a lot faster. And since everything is backed up on one of the other drives, now they're being backed up on a 4 terabyte, but I'll switch that up and move them to the 6 terabyte. So I can quickly restore everything from that drive. So it's a good way to do. And I have backups on other systems that I do of this computer, and I have a backup on my server. I have some of the files backed up on Dropbox. I'm a big fan, big proponent of backing your stuff up. And so that's what we're really trying to accomplish today. We don't actually, for the use, I never have used the entire 6 terabytes here because I store things on my server, but I wanted to have that one more backup directly on the system. So very well made, aside from a few obvious things that they could have done better. But the Lenovo system here has a 80 plus platinum power supply, 400 watts. It's plenty for this system. So very well made. Something you might want to consider when you're looking for a system is who you buy it from. Again, I'm a Lenovo fanboy. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Just in this room, I have 9 Lenovo's. Not all of them are connected, but right now I'm filming with my Lenovo over here. And beside me, some of the noise you've probably been hearing is a Lenovo that is running through a bunch of video files. It's working a little bit hard, but that's a really good Lenovo system. Has a lot of storage, 64 gigs of RAM, 6-core, 12-thread processor, RTX 3060 graphics card. It works really good, works really hard. Sometimes when it's chugging through stuff, it can make a little bit of noise, but generally it's not too bad. So that's it. I'm gonna just slap this case back together, bid you a good day, and if you like this video and you'd like to see more of these kind of upgrades, it's kind of minor, doesn't necessarily warrant a video for a lot of you, but I just like to show people some of the simple and quick things that I do in my regular life with my business, to not for money but for my own computers, my family's computers, my extended family's computers, my church, other people when they need stuff done on their computers. I'm always happy to help, and so it's good to know a little bit about it and some of the best, simplest, cost-effective ways to get things done, and this is one of them. So have a great day. Thanks for watching.